Alright guys, I'm going to be going over the best voice AI settings that you could be using for Synthflow to this date. Now, I want to make sure that you guys get all of the value that you want from this video. Now, this basically will go over what voice engines I'm going to be using for now, as well as, voice settings and stuff like that that you could use for yourself as well. Not to mention call configuration. We're going to go a little bit more on that side as well, to make sure that you have all the value that you need by the end of the video to be able to create the best voice AI agent that you could make. All right. So with that being said, let's jump on straight into it. Let's do it. Okay, guys. So I want you guys to understand that I'm going to be going over absolutely every single one of these settings, and I'm going to give you my reasoning as to why I chose it to be that way. And not only that, I will also tell you why the other one isn't the best, or so on and so forth. Okay, so starting off with the main thing that will basically change the way that your assistant acts entirely. Now, as of today, it is December 13th, 2024, so I want you guys to keep that in mind, right? And I also want you to know that this is from experience that I've had from literally tens of hundreds of builds that I've made for Synthflow. So this is what I've gathered after all the builds that I've made and ran the communities and made sure that everybody gets the best settings possible. This is what I've come down to. Okay, so take this with a grain of salt. This is what I believe is the best. All right, now with that being said, let's go on straight into it. The first thing that I am going to be going over is the voice engine. Okay, so 1.0 or 2.0. As of today, 1.0 is way better than 2.0. Now, I'm not bashing on 2.0 because I know 2.0 has a very good chance to be better than 1.0. However, as of now, the comparison is pretty significant. Now, why is 2.0 not better than 1.0 as it stands at the moment? Well, a couple things. Actions in general are a little bit faulty at the moment. So this means the transfers are not the best. The real-time bookings are not the best. The info extractors are not the best. And so on and so forth. I'm guessing you get the gist. The API calls are still not the best as well. However, 1.0, as the original Synthflow had it, is the best. So all of these functions, they work really well with 1.0. Okay? Now, in terms of conversational skills, 1.0 is still better. However, once 2.0 is fixed, 2.0 will be way better than 1.0. It has a way better way of gathering emotions throughout the call and acting upon those emotions. 2.0 is going to be absolutely killer, especially with the additions of the fade out interruption settings that they have, as well as the background noises that you could basically pretend to be somewhere like an office or a cafe. It's just amazing. 2.0 is going to be amazing. As of now, we're going to stick with 1.0 until 2.0 is even better than 1.0. Okay? So, first things first, right? Well, second. Obviously, we're going to be using GPT-4o until GPT comes out with a new AI model that we could use for that. Now, these don't really matter, but the knowledge base. So as of the knowledge bases, right? Some people ask me here and there, why don't you use the knowledge bases as often? Well, if you're doing simple things as like company information, you don't really need a knowledge base unless you want to, but you don't really need a knowledge base. The knowledge bases are, for me at least, something that you could use when you have a lot of information that you need to put into a call. All right, something like town halls or something like that, right? Where you need a lot of information, a lot of documents, a lot of PDFs, you can convert into the knowledge base and then it could search for it. But if you don't have all of those needs, right, all those documents, just put it in the prompt and it's the same thing. It's probably better because it knows it. It doesn't have to search for it. Okay? So that is why I have it like that for knowledge bases. Now, custom vocabularies, This is really all preference. It's really up to you. I've used custom vocabulary for better accuracy and recognition, but it's just, other things. So um, these are other things, right? Filter words. This is also a preference of what you want, but you basically add in any words that you don't want the voice AI to say or, say throughout the call or mention, and you can add those on there. Okay, so now with the part of the voices, okay, I'm gonna make a completely separate video entirely focused on voices and why they have become way better than they were before. However, for now, I'm just going to be going over some of the reasoning as to what happens throughout the voice stabilities and style exaggerations and similarities and optimized latencies. And you could choose, right? Because it really varies for every single voice. It really does. So you want to make sure that you pick the best one for each voice. But the point of this video is I'm going to show you how to pick the best ones for the voice. Okay? So now, the voice really depends on you. In this case, I'm just going to be doing Bria, young and soft. And then, remember the trick that I showed you guys before where you could add a language and an accent, basically? Well, they made it an option that is a lot better. Now, you can basically just choose a British or an Indian accent or whatever it is that you want, and then have an Indian person or a British person understand, sorry, not even British, but like, let's say a Brazilian person can now understand English, okay, but still have a Brazilian accent, okay? So that is what they added onto here, which is an amazing thing to do, okay? Now, voice AI models. This is pretty self-explanatory just because it says it in the name. I always use the latest version for this because me personally, I believe it's the best. However, if you are only dealing with English as the native language, you should just choose the version 2. It is going to be not a lot better, but it's going to be okay when dealing with the conversation. So you could easily use this for the voice and how it's going to sound like, okay? So best for English, best for non-English. And then multilingual is if you have, if you want to generate like lifelike speech for 29 plus languages. So it's really up to you. I always use this one because it has the lowest latency, and I know a lot of you guys like the low latency, so just honestly just use 2.5. That's what I always use for most of my builds. Okay? So now, this is a very big misconception. Now, patience level. Okay? This is a big one. A lot of people believe that lowering the patience level means lowering the latency. That's not the case. Lowering the patience level, from what I believe, basically just lowers the time that it takes for the voice AI to listen to you. So if I'm the voice AI and I ask you, hey, what's your address? And I have a low patience level, it means I'm impatient. So I'm going to ask you for the address. Hey, what's your address? You're telling me, and I'm cutting you off like halfway while you're telling me your address because I'm patient. I mean, I'm impatient. I want the address right now. So that's why the voice AI probably interrupts you a lot of the time because you have a low patience level, and that creates for the voice AI to not listen to you as much or not give you enough time to, think and give the answers. So I know sometimes people say, hey, this is the address, and then they stop for a second, and then the voice AI will say, oh, you still there? Like, you still there? Blah, blah, blah. It's better to just have it at medium to be safe, but this has barely anything to do with latency, okay? So that was the big misconception. So I always keep it at medium, okay? Now, the stability. They added a very good feature here to make it easier for you guys to understand. So expressive, dynamic, balanced, predictable, and stable. All right. Now, I only like to keep mine between 0.4 and 0.7. All right. Now, the reason for this is because if you have it anywhere like farther than that, it's going to cause some friction throughout the call because it could either be too stable and less expressive, now it sounds like an actual robot, or it could be too expressive and less stable, and now it's actually cutting out all the time. Which leads me to say, if you have a voice AI that's cutting out, let's say it's talking and it stops and it's keeps talking like that, kind of like that, that means you need to increase this, all right? Increase the stability level. If you have it at 0.7, it'll probably stop doing that, okay? So that's a big thing that if you're experiencing, that's how you fix it, okay? Now, moving on, style exaggeration. I really don't like to put this any further than 0.2, honestly, because it says enhances the distinct characteristics of the voice, but may slow down processing and make the voice less stable. So the more you have a style exaggeration, the less stable it becomes. That's all it is, but the louder it gets. So I just keep it at 0.1 and 0.2, but generally 0.1. Okay, so I keep it at that. Now the similarity level, I really don't put this anywhere near like 0.25 or 1.0. I just keep it honestly at 0.70 all the time, most of the time. Okay. I haven't found too much reasoning to do this, but this is really for like unwanted noise, like it says right here, for the original recording. Like if you don't want like background noise or something like that, you could increase this, right? But if you want it to sound similar to the voice itself, then you can decrease it. But yeah, that's basically it. So that leads me to the optimized latency. All right. Now, I don't go anywhere above to 3 or 4. I just keep it honestly at 1 or 2. Generally, if you're having latency issues, I would just keep it at 1. If you're having very bad latency issues, I would keep it at 2. However, don't increase it way more than this because it can affect accuracy. All right? So that's the reasoning on that part. So, the voice prompting, okay? This is a game changer that they added, and it's so good. So for voice prompting, I generally just say, speak fast, and she will actually speak like more assertively in a way that makes her a lot more believable that she's a human. Now, if she's speaking really slow and a little bit lousy like this, just put this on, she fast, and it's gonna speak a lot better. Okay. Now, call configuration. All right. Pause before speaking. This is mostly all preference, so whatever you would like. However, pause before speaking. This is basically the pause that the voice AI has initially. So if I answer the call and I don't hear anything, this is how long it waits for the voice AI to say something. So I usually just have it at 1 second because that's typically the amount of time that it takes for somebody to pick up their phone, put it on speaker, or put it up to their ear to listen. Okay, so just 1 second or 2. Now, ring duration. This is an inbound caller. So if you have an inbound caller and you want ring duration amounts, then you can basically add how long it rings for. That's it. So if I'm calling somebody and it rings for a certain amount of time, that's the certain amount of time right here. You can increase this or decrease this, whatever. Increase it to make it look busy, decrease it to make it look not that busy, and way more responsive. Now, max idle duration. So this really depends on what you want to do. If you have an objective, let's say, for example, I call a grocery store and I tell the grocery store, hey, do you have this product? Well, now it has to actually wait. Like, they'll say, yeah, I'm going to the back and I'm going to find it for you. If you have it at 15 seconds, the voice AI is basically going to hang up. Right? But if you have it at above this, in that case scenario, like 70, then you give them a minute and 10 seconds to actually go in, check, come back, and then get back to you. Okay? So that really depends on your scenario, but that's how you deal with that. Now, idle reminders. The idle reminders, I always keep it at 8 seconds because right here, as you can see, this is idle duration, right? So this is how long the user can take. The assistant waits until it hangs up the call. Now, idle reminders, this is connected with this, all right? So if they're gone for 15 seconds or 16, let's say, 8 plus 8 is 16, so it's going to remind her twice, basically. But if you want her reminding the user like every 8 seconds, like, hey, I'm still here, do you have any questions, or whatever you want to say, you could change this up and either increase it or decrease it. But that's the reason for that. I usually keep it at 8 seconds to not be asking somebody constantly, hey, this, and that. So you just keep it at that. All right. So lastly, we have the speaker boost. So amplifies the voice's likeliness to the original speaker, which can slightly slow down the response time. This is basically the same thing as similarity, but I never touch this. I always keep it off every single time. Every single time I keep it off. Limit call duration. This really depends. If you want to limit the call duration, that's really up to you. This is more for like demoing and so people don't abuse it or whatever. So if you turn it on, you could add it the certain amount of minutes and blah, blah, blah. And this is so people don't just get cut off in the call, or the AI is talking to another AI or another bot on the call. And that's the reason for this. Basically to waste less money. Okay? So that's what that is for. And then obviously enable call recordings and enable transcripts. Alrighty. Alright, so if you guys found this helpful, please just leave a like down below or subscribe, however you want to do it, just so I can keep making more videos like this. And of course, I want to make sure that I give you guys the best value possible. So I do have a community that you guys could join so that we can learn more about Synthflow and voice AI itself, and as well as connections over to GoHighLevel. Now, in order for you to be able to join that, there's going to be a link down below called the AI Agency Vault. And there you can press the join free button and you're going to be able to get access into my community where I have a bunch of builds that I've already made, and you guys could see all of them throughout there and enjoy. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you found value.